Who really cares? Leave the world in despair. Who really cares? There'll come a time. There'll come a time when the world won't be singing. When the world be singing. Flowers won't grow. Flowers won't grow. Bells won't be ringing. Bells won't be ringing. Who really cares? Who really cares?
Good morning, Rob. I didn't know you was gonna hit me with the Marvin Gaye like that. You went a little deep on that one. I like that. Good morning and welcome to the Acclivus Hour. I'm your co-host Katrina Waddy, Public Education Director for Acclivus.
And I'm your co-host Bomani Obedelli, Director of Community Engagement for Acclivus Inc.
Acclivus is a nonprofit organization that looks at violence through a public health lens as we work to build safe, peaceful, and economically thriving communities. And we do that by offering several free services and resources that are designed to prevent, de-escalate, and mitigate violence. We have our street outreach team that works in 11 high violence communities across Cook County, Harvey, and Champaign, Illinois. Our hospital response team works in partnership with 6 hospitals or trauma centers across the city. We have our behavioral health team, who will be on today, that provides therapeutic services for victims and survivors of violence and their families. We provide technical training, workforce development, and mentoring assistance for our program participants, partnering organizations, and our staff. And then through Acclivus Reentry Services, we assist newly released and formerly incarcerated individuals with maintaining healthy lifestyles by promoting pathways to successful community reintegration and decreasing social isolation. Through a partnership with several state departments and city organizations, we offer the Peacekeepers, or the Flatlining Violence Inspires Peace program, the FLIP program. And then we also work very closely and provide funding support to numerous indigenously led sub-grantee organizations, which also contribute to curbing violence in Chicago. We're led by Levon Stone Sr., who leverages his lived experiences in Chicago streets to promote second chances throughout the entire Acclivus organization. And you can learn more about us on our website at acclivusinc.org. You can always follow us on our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, X or Twitter, and LinkedIn. And that's at Acclivus Inc. And you can always call us at 312-766-7145. And before we get into today's show, we want to acknowledge anyone who's listening, who's experienced violence or is connected to someone who's experienced violence in any form this past week. I don't know, Obedelli, if there's any cases that stand out over the past week or so. And I always defer to Obedelli because sometimes you have your ear to the streets more, sometimes more than I do.
Unfortunately, it's never good to come on and report and talk about incidents of violence. And again, we express our heartfelt condolences to all the families within our listening voice across the city of Chicago who've experienced any high levels of violence. The one particular case that sticks out to me is the 64-year-old woman who was a recovering cancer patient who was struck down by gun violence over on the west side. And I know that you will be over in North Lawndale today for our final Play Streets event. It is painful, that a person could survive cancer twice and then lose their life, due to senseless acts of violence as an innocent bystander walking to the store, as a family said. But again, that's just one instance. One murder, one shooting is too many. We have to do better. I would say that we collectively have to do better in our communities, addressing the senseless acts of violence. And though we've made great strides. Again, this is one more painful incident of violence that is taking place in our community that is totally unacceptable and should not go unchecked. And again, we have to do better as a community. And I would just say also, we offer prayers to all the men and women who are working in the community violence interruption space. There are men and women who daily go out to leave their homes and put their lives on the line to try to mediate and intervene with conflict so that the numbers of senseless acts of violence would continue to go down. But
it's
again,
no easy feat just because I mean, I'll say all the time, it's not the kind of news it's hard to get media coverage on things and activities that were prevented. But, but to be able to hear in our all staff meetings and things like that, how many, potentially, how many incidents that seem small, an argument between some folks or something that was posted on social media that our street outreach team was able to intervene and prevent from escalating to something more serious. I mean, that again, that can go unnoticed. And I don't want to, forget about that. Just because you didn't see it happen doesn't mean that there wasn't work put behind it to prevent it from happening.
Of course. Yeah. So, I mean, unfortunately, we have these instances of violence that are taking place in our community. And so we can't let it go unchecked. We have to deal with it. And again, I think I still raise the question that no one seems to be able to give a real answer to, is how are young men who could barely feed themselves and take care of themselves getting high-powered big guns, military grade style weapons that end up in communities that are poverty stricken. Poverty and crime go hand in hand, and though again we don't condone it, it's not a situation where we want to allow this city to go Gotham. We still have to look at the root causes of violence and be able to do both. And I think that is the space from which we operate. And I think the level of anxiety and also stress that, we have to do this and that. And, there's no one easy solution to these issues of violence. We are just one part of it. But the public health approach is everyone. And so we're going to be talking about mental health today. And we're going to be talking about back to school, because I think that's also equally important as we prepare our young people to go back to school.
Absolutely. Well, as you say, we invite you to join the conversation with our behavioral health person, Kelly, who's going to be joining us shortly. You can call the studio here at 773-591-1690, 773-591-1690, or feel free to tune in via the WVON or the Acclivus Inc. Facebook page. And before we bring on Kelly, we're going to shout out our sponsors, the UIC Social Work Policy Center, the Illinois Department of Human Services, Office of Gun Violence Prevention, our friends at the Michael Reese Health Trust Foundation, the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Authority, or ICJA, the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, and the Chicago Department of Public Health. We appreciate each of those organizations for their generous support that helps make not only this show, but our work possible. And so with that, I'm going to shift gears and bring on Kelly. Kelly, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. I'm well. How are you guys?
We're doing good.
Good morning, Kelly.
Kelly Brown. Kelly, you're one of the newer members of the behavioral health team at Acclivus. And again, shout out to you all for all the work you all do, providing free therapeutic services and counseling to anyone, not just Acclivus, not folks that are Acclivus connected. You can call the number, and Kelly, hopefully you'll have that number. If not, I'll share it before we are done talking with you. But anybody can call that number and be able to get signed up for free therapeutic services, and it really is very helpful in trying to just mitigate some of the inner turmoil that a lot of us are dealing with on a day-to-day basis, living in these days and times. So Kelly, what we wanted to talk about is looking at youth who are returning to school and the parents of those youth that are either embarking on school for the first time, going to a new school perhaps, or just returning to their old school, and just looking at some of the things that they might be dealing with. But before we get into that conversations, maybe introduce yourself to our listeners and tell us how you, what you do and how you came to Acclivus.
All right. So as you said, my name is Kelly Brown. I am a native of West Side of Chicago, 290. So I grew up on the West Side of Chicago, was able to be blessed and educated through a private school system, Providence St. Mel. From there, I went on to college, and after college, I began my career as an educator. So I started my time off in classrooms in Georgia. From there, I decided the classroom was not where my forte was, but it was in building relationships. And so from the classroom, I went into school counseling. I returned home to Chicago in about 2020, in which I became a school counselor with a charter school network. And after my time as a school counselor, I decided that I wanted to go into mental health counseling. And so that's how I arrived here at Acclivus and supporting our community through mental health support.
Well, we are fortunate and happy to have you here and with Acclivus, and thank you again so much for all the work that you and the team does. What we wanted to talk about again, just looking at young people who are embarking on a new school year or returning to a former school, just some of the things that they might be feeling, and then maybe some signs of stress that their parents can be on the lookout for, and then some of the supports that they can look to access. So, what are some of the pressures and emotions that returning the students might be feeling going back to school, which I guess it starts next week in most cases?
Yeah. A lot of
students,
it
started already in the suburban areas.
Somebody's okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Kelly. Go ahead. I talked over you. I just said I would amplify that these suburban areas across Cook County, the schools have already started. Chicago Public Schools starts Monday.
Yeah, I was also echoing that schools have begun already. So it is, back in motion, and children are making their way back into the buildings. And as you guys were speaking earlier in regards to the violence that we experience in our communities, children are going back to school with way more things in their backpack than just your typical school supplies and their expectations for school. Many children are returning to school with many health concerns. And so I have a few suggestions for parents and students to think about as they head back into the school building. So first, I believe that every parent should focus on helping their child to feel safe, supported, heard, and understood as they return back to the school buildings. It is important because many students, return and they're feeling anxious about what's going to happen. As you said, some students are starting school in their pre-K or kindergarten level, or they're starting at new schools. And so anytime we start something new, you can expect it to be something hard. Anytime we're doing anything new, it will start off hard. And so expect for your children to have some concerns or have a little fear and anxiety, and that's very typical. So in order to address any fears or anxieties that your students may have, communication is key. Intentional communication and intentional conversations around their reflections over the summer. What did they enjoy? What did they not enjoy? What are they looking forward to as the school year comes? Any goals or expectations that you have as a parent, as well as what your student has as a student and as a child, thinking about how both can be supportive of the school year. Also investigating about
Kelly, hang on real quick. Let me go back to that communications point. I know, typically when my children were younger, of course, you're the main mode of transportation. So, as we're on our way to school or on our way from school, we could, talk about, hey, how was your day? What happened today? And I would, hear over the years, kindergarten might have been little small things, but of course, as they, matriculated through, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, things, the things that happened the course of the day were, a little bit different. But can you talk about that when your students are already, maybe having their own mode of transportation or catching the bus or whatever to school? What's a good time, for parents to try to interject some of that communication? And if they haven't already started it previously with their child, how can they start incorporating communication, daily check-ins with their youth, with their child, if their child is catching a bus or driving them?
Well, you also got to keep in mind now there's a new law that has been signed children can't take their cell phones into the classrooms anymore.
The cell phone.
So, you know, that is going to create, in my opinion, that is going to be, I think that's going to create some level of angst and some level of concern, given that many of our young people, and again, as we talked about, thank you, Kelly, for highlighting that many of our young people don't feel safe. And we also have this other dynamic that we're dealing with. Many of our young people are what we call latchkey children. That means that, you know, they're returning home in some cases to an empty house where there's no one there. And because mom is working one or two jobs to survive. And so,
dad's working too,
you know, if the dad is in the home, and that's a whole nother conversation. But their family, many of our young people are latchkey children, right? And so access to affordable after school programs, you know, that rarely or non-existing almost, right? And being able to find those safe places for children to go. But now you're sending your child to school, and I know this is coming, and they can't have access to the cell phone in the classroom, right? So if something happens, they can't call mom or dad anymore, or they have to ask for permission to use their cell phone. I'm a little concerned about how that's going to work, and I'm also concerned about what I also know is coming next. Somebody stole my phone because they're being placed in some kind of pocket.
Oh, they're not just in your bag where you just can't bring it out in the classroom.
I think they're trying to create some security
like at a concert
system
or a comedy show.
Right, where they stick them in these pouches and lock them up. You know, Kelly, so I don't know if you are prepared to deal with or have a response to that, because I know some of us as adults, like I'm sitting here now, can't be without our phone for 2 seconds.
Yes, definitely. As a former educator, I have been thinking about the impact of no cell phones in the classroom. It, you know, has its pros and its cons. I believe that students still can stay safe even without their access to their phones in the classroom. One, it's a newly passed law, so we don't know how they're rolling it out or when they're expected to actually roll it out. So from what I've heard from educators is, you know, in their PDs and trainings currently, it hasn't been much talk about it from the educators that I know. So it sounds like it's still in the works, and they're trying to figure out how to roll it out, because it is such a big deal, especially with all of the gun violence and the in-school gun violence that has been going on. So families have valid concerns about that. So I'm not sure exactly how the state or government is attempting to roll it out this school year, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not like fully rolled out as students return to school currently. What I would say in regards to what you questioned earlier about when do we get the time to communicate, and how can we communicate with students who don't have a cell phone or who isn't riding in the car in the mornings or in the afternoons, and they have to return home by themselves. That's where I would say parents have to start building routines and structures within the home. So if you're not home when your child gets home, possibly you're home before they go to bed. So in the time where they're getting ready for the next day, taking their bath and things, that's a time that you could communicate and be intentional about what's expected and how they're feeling throughout their day. Or if you're a parent who is there in the morning, you can utilize the morning time as we're getting ready to get ready for school and talk about how we're feeling, what we're going to do, any intentions we have for the day. I think there's always time that you can make in order to be intentional about communicating with your child and making sure your child understands what you want from them and what they are experiencing throughout their day.
Great. I know before we pivot to the next program, I like to take a couple calls in this subject.
And real quick too, I know, Kelly, I interrupted you after communications. Did you have one or two more points that you wanted to share, and then we can take a couple calls?
Yeah, I was going to say building the routines and structures, making sure that in the morning, you have some morning mindfulness going on, making sure that everyone is present in their bodies and themselves, decompression after school, whether you're there or not, putting a system together to where your child understands how to just regroup and release any stress from the day, as well as nightly and bedtime routines is very important. And then also modeling what emotional awareness and coping skills are. If you aren't aware of that and you need resources, I have some resources at the end of this that I can share that teaches about mindfulness, teaches about coping skills, and what it looks like for our emotions to be impacted. Another suggestion that I would highly suggest for parents is to get involved in your child's education. Know your teacher, know your children's teachers by name. Know their contact information, be able to contact them whenever that you can, during reasonable times. Make sure you know your school's social worker or your school's counselor, because that is very important in the mental health support. And then also, if your child is neurodivergent or in need of any extra support within schools, know the MTSS support system within your schools. And then also the last one, which is very extremely important in our communities, is noticing signs of concern, signs that your children may need a little more support than just communicated in structures. If your child is exhibiting any withdrawal symptoms, like isolating themselves from people, not wanting to be engaged and talk with people, having low moods or sadness, any consistent tearfulness, any lack of engagement in things that they used to engage in, all of those are signs for concern. And if your child is exhibiting any of those, I would definitely say speak with the school counselor or the social worker first, and then they can provide resources and help you to support your scholar if there's any concerns that is raised.
Thank you,
Well,
Kelly.
it sounds like some adults will probably be looking out for those type of signs too, giving the high levels of, it's something that I don't want to mix subjects though, of suicide that is taking place in our community as well. But Kelly, I wanted to go back and address one other thing or highlight one other thing. It's a part of, I guess, the new laws. Children are now being allowed mental health days that they can actually take off from school for mental health, and it doesn't count against their attendance record.
Now that's interesting. Did I know that?
I'm sorry, Kelly. I don't know if you wanted to elaborate on that at all.
I was not aware that was something that was going on currently, but it is something that I am fully in support of and will back. School is important, and making sure that our children mental health is also important. And some days we need time off, just as, with adults, we have PTO, we have days that we can take and make sure that we have our mental health together. I think it's also important that children have that for themselves. I would encourage parents to make sure that it's intentional and that you're actually doing things to model and emphasize their mental health on the days that they do take off for mental health.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. We're going to take us, we're halfway through the show. We're going to take a couple of callers and then we're going to try to bring on a couple of our barbers for our back to school event. But Cliff, good morning. Thanks for holding your own with the Acclivus Hour.
Grand Resident family. Listen, I always appreciate the program and also the whole effort, because we need as much help as we can in our community. And I just want to speak my last point. Last week's show was phenomenal in terms of exposing, the challenges that this program faces. And then Brother Obadeli, with your challenge with. So I encourage you to keep up the good work, because we need you. We need the program in our community. So be encouraged and continue to fight and represent our people, regardless of what people say. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Brother Cliff. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for calling for that. Miss Eunice, thanks so much for holding your own with the Acclivus Hour.
Good morning to both of you. Obadeli, I've known you since you were a young man, and I'm proud of you. God bless you in all of your endeavors, and I enjoy your show. Call me sometime. I left my number on your voicemail.
I have it. I owe you a phone call for certain, Mama Eunice.
All right. Reached the young age of 93. Now you got to keep up with me.
I shall. And thank you for all your service to our people. Right? You still kicking and still fighting. Yes. So that's a plus. But thank you. And I will reach out to you today.
Sure. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Eunice. Linda, thanks so much for holding your own with the Acclivus Hour.
Thank you for taking my call. Again, I want to emphasize the fact about education because I'm encouraging all our children to have a good school year. I have my balloons, I have my decorations out in front of my my apartment. Let the children know we're blessing you all having a good school year. My point is, reason my call is because my grandson, my son passed away, and I'm raising my grandson. So my grandson's in his last year of high school, and then he's going to be a veterinarian. He's going to be a veterinarian. I want to about those cell phones. The school that he attends, like I said, he already started school. The school he attends, take the cell. They tell the gentleman, we will take your cell phone and we see you with it. If you're allowed to bring it out, you can bring it out. But they have to put those cell phones in their own locker.
Okay.
If they're seen with those cell phones, they will take the cell phones, and we, the parents, have to come up there and pay for it to get it back.
Ooh.
The boys know. I'm not going to say the school, but the boys know they have to be responsible with those cell phones and lock them up in their locker. And if a teacher says, bring your cell phone to this class, they're allowed to do that. If not, those cell phones are in their locker until the time they need them. So my grandson can get his cell phone on his own without nobody saying, I'm taking his cell phone.
Right.
He's not being irresponsible. He's being responsible, and I do appreciate the school for having that kind of code of conduct.
Thanks
well, Linda, thank you. And again, I want to amplify that you said you're going to have balloons and decorations, encouraging the children as they walk past your home going to school.
I love it.
That's great.
I'm celebrating them. I'm celebrating their new school year, and I look forward to it every year. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for encouraging our young people. Thank you.
One more thing.
Sure.
Please tell me when I can come out and volunteer to get these signatures for the mayor.
I can't talk about that on this program at all, Linda. But if you call, I wouldn't give my. I have to figure out, Linda. Call back to the station, leave your number, and we'll figure out how to reach you. But that's not the platform. This is not the platform for that.
Thanks, Linda.
Thank you.
Before just looking at the time, and we're going to get to Brother Chris and Mama D in just a second, but I want to bring on Damien and Andre as we're talking about back to school. Two of the activities that one of the activities that Acclivus has been doing for the past several years is hosting what we call our back to school free haircuts and hairstyles, where young people can go to a number of barbers across the city, from as far south as Harvey, far west as North Lawndale, to get free haircuts and in some cases hairstyles, braiding, styles for the young ladies as well, in addition to book bags and school supplies. And so on the phone today, we have two of our barbers who will be participating in this year's event. Andre from Bronzeville Barber and Beauty Salon, and then Damien, new barber to us from Studio B. So good morning, gentlemen. How are you all doing today?
Good morning. How you doing?
Doing good.
Great.
Doing good. Good morning to you all.
Great. And Andre, though this is your third year work partnering with Acclivus, I want to let the WVON audience know that you have been a pillar on the 35th Street corridor as a businessman and shop owner, and you've been doing this for quite some time on your own. So I just want to thank you for partnering with us over the past years to give back to the community. And why don't you tell the WVON family a little bit about yourself, and then we'll boot over to Brother Damien in North Lawndale. Andre.
Okay. Oh, I really appreciate it, bro. My name is Andre. I grew up, on the south side, down here in the Hilliard Homes, across street from the Ickies, known as, and I went to Phillips. I went to Phillips, graduated from King. Went to some college in Dawson, and did a lot of things in the community, and did construction, and also went to Kane's Barber College. So by graduating at Kane's Barber College, I graduated like in 06. So I ended up coming to the shop on 35th, and I've been there, man, for about 15, 16 years now.
Give us the address to the shop.
And it's at 122 East 35th Street.
Thank you, Andre. And then, Andre, you've been doing this for a while. And then, Damien, this is your first year. So thank you first of all for agreeing to participate in this with us. But introduce yourself to our listeners as well.
All right, how you doing? My name's Damien. People call me Doomy. I know Dre too. Also, I know Dre. We know each other.
Great.
Huh?
No, I said great. That's wonderful.
I love it.
Yeah, I know Dre. I know Dre from the low end. And yeah, I've been out here on Pulaski for the last 20 years. You know, I done did this thing a couple times. I done did it with different other people, been partnering with different other people. But I try to do it all the time, anytime I can, anything to help the community. That's kind of what I'm here for, you know.
Yeah. Give us the address to your shop, Damien.
Oh, 2113 South Pulaski.
Yeah, 2 doors down from the Acclivus North Lawndale site.
2 doors down from the Acclivus office.
Yeah. I just again want to thank you, gentlemen, because again, I think what you guys are indicative of is again leadership and the attitude flows down throughout the entire organization. And you all are gentlemen who are in the community, you know, and are active in the community. This isn't your first time at the rodeo with, you know, giving back and all that. And it's not something that you do just because somebody asked you to do it. It's something that you all have been doing out of your own hearts. And we just really appreciate that.
And I will add that Andre has agreed to participate in our Mental Health Mondays once we get them started. That he has talked to me and expressed, you know,
Yes.
and has this affinity for offering chess and getting men involved with in check with their mental health and health.
Yeah.
So he's committed to working with our office, and like Damien, he's 3 or 4 doors down from our Douglas site.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on 35th Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and you know, and again, we can talk about this another time, but it might be the barbershop might be the location, and you know, and these participating barbers might be the great way to kind of slowly start this swell of this men's mental Mondays, you know, kind of activity.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I always say, you know, the shop is a pipeline to the community, no different from the school district or the park district. You know, we're in the community, so you know.
Absolutely. We're gonna take a couple of calls real quick too, and then come back to you, Kelly. Thanks so much. I know you're on as well, so we're gonna get to Brother Chris. Good morning. Thanks so much for holding. You're on with the Acclivus Hour.
Good morning, family. This is Brother Chris checking in. Shout out to the WVON family. Much love to the children. Hope they have a good return back to school, a strong, successful year. The kids are, you know, so much stuff they exposed to in this world today, which we were not exposed. And just a collaborative effort y'all doing, the guys with the haircuts, just everything. Just wanted to shout that out.
Thank you, Brother Chris. Thanks so much for calling with that too. And I'm gonna take Mama D. Good morning, Mama D. Thanks so much for holding. You're on with the Acclivus Hour.
Okay, good morning. Y'all God rising. 2 things. As a certified Montessori educator, it's important for young children, kindergarten especially, to know their birth certificate name. Sometimes all they know is their nickname, and they can be incorrectly labeled.
Yeah. One of the barbers, you guys might want to mute your phone.
Probably in the
Damien
barbershop, so
yeah.
we've held them on. But Mama D, go ahead and proceed. I'm sorry, proceed, Mama D, with your statement.
I was saying, as a certified Montessori educator, it's important for children, especially the kindergartners, to know their birth certificate name.
Good point.
Sometimes all they know is a nickname, and they can be incorrectly labeled as not recognizing their name.
That's a real good point.
So that's important.
Yeah. Thank you, Mama D. That is a real good point.
And number 2 is I'm concerned about a law being passed to say that you've got to take a mental health day. If your child is absent, why can't they just be absent for other reasons other than they're absent because of a mental health?
Well, why would you, as a former educator, Mama D, why would you be concerned? I think you've raised this issue before when someone introduced it in the General Assembly. What is your pushback on it?
Well, my pushback on it, if a child is absent from school, then the parent supplies the reason. But I'm concerned that after 3 or 4 mental health days, somebody will say, your child has a problem and they need to see a counselor or something. You say, oh, well, they don't have a problem. Then you end up with not being a correct parent, poor parenting skills, and it could lead to DCFS issue.
Interesting.
I think that's a stretch, Mama D. I think that's a stretch, but hey, I respect your opinion. I support it. Understanding that, discussing mental health for a long time in the Black community, and Kelly, you can jump in, and we've talked about this, has been a stigma with African Americans, with Black people, not acknowledging that they're suffering from some type of mental psychosis or a crisis. And it's far time that we begin to recognize, with all that Black folks have gone through, that many of us have some mental health challenges, and our children, with all the trauma that they see and deal with, the ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. Mama D, I think we have to understand that some of our young people struggle to make it out of the bed every morning just to go to school, walking past, the degradation, the disinvestment, the lack of real grocery stores in their community. I mean, the environment that they're in.
Look at Gary. If you're a child in Gary,
with
right
no power
now,
for 11 days.
For almost 2 weeks, it's probably gonna end up being 3 weeks to a month. But I know adults who are literally suffering a kind of mental trauma about, like, oh my God, just the uncertainty of, I can't even get my job done. I can't even go to my job. It's one thing if my home doesn't have electricity, but the whole city doesn't have it. Like, where can I even go to continue doing my work if I can even work remotely? I mean, it's the whole thing. So I can imagine youth might be like, what's going on with my school? My home life is in a disarray. But all that to say, if you wanted to, if that once the school year started, if that student wanted to take a mental health day, I mean, I don't know if that's going on in Gary, but I understand your point, Mama Day, a little bit too.
Yeah, right. In conclusion, I agree with all of that, but I'm saying for a law to be passed to say, take a mental health day.
You can. Miss Mama D. Mama D, it doesn't tell you have to. It says you can, and it does not count against your attendance record. Some people pride themselves on perfect attendance.
Thank you, Mama D. Thank you so much.
That's a very good clarification.
You can. It's offered. Kelly, did you?
I just wanted to chime in, Mama D. Thank you for your concern. But I do want to back up. I believe your name is Mr. O.
Yeah.
We want to destigmatize the idea that if you are having a mental health crisis, that is a indicator on the parents, and that DCFS is going to get involved. There are many reasons why children struggle in their mental health, and it doesn't always mean that they're experiencing abuse or neglect in the home. It could, but it doesn't always mean that. And so if a student is taking a mental health day, I don't think that the school is going to assume that something must be going on with the parent, so let's report the parent. And so I just wanted to speak to that concern that you had. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to associate it with the parents having a lack. And so let's report the parent.
And I like, Mama D, that Obadeli clarified too for you. And I know that was an eye-opening, but that, again, it's just something that's offered. You can't, you have the opportunity to take that if you want to. You don't, it's not something that's being enforced.
And I appreciate that. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much, Mama D. I'm going to take probably maybe the last caller. Good morning, Andre from the South Side. You're on with the Acclivus Hour.
Good morning. Look, I'm all for kids having their day off. When I raised my 3 children up in the South Side of Chicago, I told them, if you happen to feel bad one day and you don't want to go to school, you don't have to make excuse. Just say, Dad, I don't feel like going to school, and you can stay home and just take that day. Why? Because I didn't want them leaving out the house and end up cutting school and being somewhere that they didn't want to be, something happened to them because they cut class. So I raised my kids up to just tell me you don't feel like going and you can stay home. And that's exactly what they did. And I didn't do like some parents, make them stay home and clean up. If you don't feel like going, you don't feel like going. They only human. They need a health day.
That's a good point.
But on paper, everything that you put down on paper is a document. So I can agree with not necessarily calling it Mental Health Day. Why not just calling it a Universal Health Day or just a Natural Health Day? Why labels mean things. And so to cut down on the stigmatization of some of this stuff, yeah, it will follow them wherever they go. It'd be a dot. Well, in school they had all these mental health days. Just call it Health Day or something. That's what I'm in agreement with, because everything is documented and it do follow you through your life.
Interesting point.
Just like the last thing, just like down there, I think it was Texas or Florida somewhere. Y'all remember this about years ago. It's this 5-year-old girl that was acting out in school. And what those white cops did, they came to school and put them kitty cuffs on her. They had her sitting in handcuffs in the principal's office at 5 years old. So I'm pretty sure that that's on her record somewhere. It follows her record. So just call it a Universal Health Day and leave it at that. Forget the mental health part of it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, Andre, I appreciate you, and you have a right to your opinion, Kelly. I think that, listen, brothers and sisters, we've been intentional at Acclivus, right, about number one of offering, and we're going to give the number out, free access to mental health support, understanding that there are people in our community on a daily basis who are dealing with severe trauma and are suffering from mental health breakdowns. Many of our young people, is one brother that used to be an organizer that's no longer with us. Mark Allen used to call them walking time bombs. We see them every day walking up and down the streets, and many of us try to have some level of interaction with them. But however, I will say this, as a race of people, and I'm talking about Black people now, we have had this challenge with embracing therapy, embracing and accepting that listen, that some of us are just crazy.
Some of us need to talk to somebody for sure.
Listen, brothers and sisters. And so
some of us are on the spectrum. To me, I'm not going to listen. So I think we're all on the spectrum, and then how far to the left or right on that spectrum?
I don't know how you can be Black in America and live in this city and see all that you see every day and deal with, if you care, and not need someone to talk to about it. And so I'm saying that intentionally, Kelly. So I'm saying, I don't know. I know some of our other therapists, and I'm not met you, but I've heard some of the therapists say they got therapists.
Yeah.
Because I understand our people are impacted by so much. So I get it. You don't want to be labeled. I'm perfectly fine with it today. I used to be the same way. Listen, I will tell you this. I have 2 therapists. I see one myself individually, and I have a therapist that my wife and I see, and we are intentional about making those appointments. So my only point is, I'm saying that it's a need, and trust me when I tell you this, I'm better today for it. I guarantee you.
If you know better, you do better.
Well, I'm telling you, people who really know me know they say we don't know what happened, but thank God.
Thank God. Thank God. And look, and we're all works in progress. So look, even this person over here. But anyway, last caller, and then I'm just gonna repeat real quick the information for tomorrow's event, Sunday, August 23rd, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The list of barbers are on our website, but we've got another barbershop, House of Haderas in Roseland. Another barbershop is in Bronzeville, Low End. Hair Experts Barber College. Hair Experts has a location on 47th Street and on Wentworth, 55th and Wentworth. Bronzeville Barbershop, Andre's shop on 122 East 35th Street. Studio B, which is Damien's Barbershop at 21st and Pulaski. And then out in Harvey, there's a mobile a mobile barber who will have his mobile unit in front of our Harvey site, which is on 15306 Page Avenue. So I'm gonna try to see if we can grab Cedric, who's on the phone. He'll be our last caller, and we'll wrap up. Cedric, thanks so much for holding your own with the Acclivus Hour.
Good morning to both of you two. How you guys doing?
Morning.
Good morning.
Listen, that mental health thing, hey, right now that's critical. I started, you know what, when dealing with boomers, and when you start taking care of them when they get older, you start to notice like these individuals, some of them now, they have been dealing with mental illnesses for 60 plus years. And then you start to realize why they were in church all the time. You can't pray that away. You got to deal with it.
Thank you.
Even in the Bible, it tells you to deal with your mind. You have to deal with it. And some of them are passing away and never had a day of peace in their life.
Nope.
It is sad.
Yeah.
It is sad. It is critical. It needs to be addressed. And I'm so happy, starting with the millennials on down, they're dealing with their mental health.
Yeah.
Don't be that to me, it seems like you're in prison. Because I'm looking at them, and, you know, when you're young and, you know, you like my mother, I'm realizing that she was dealing with depression when I was a child. I now know what I was looking at when I was little. She was depressed.
Yeah.
She was depressed. And it's something that has to be dealt with. Listen, don't be afraid of it. Don't be ashamed of it. Stand up with your chest stuck out and say, I have to deal with it. I need help.
Yeah. And that's a good point, Cedric, because again, you got a lot of seniors who are now, you know, on the sunset years of their lives, but who were sexually assaulted, family members, church members who had to deal with, you know, what even after effects of slavery, you know, or what do you call it when somebody owns your property and all that. But anyway, just all these little different things that the racism, you know, right smack in their face. And it's like, but they didn't, I mean, they may have talked about it to each other, but for the most part, church was their way of at least, you know, kind of trying to praise and worship away. But you are very, very dead on, Cedric, that you got to talk about that. You got what over there?
Well, no, I'm telling you, listen, he hit it. Thank you, Cedric. I mean, you hit it dead, the nail dead on the head. And we got so many of our people. And listen, Jesus, God created therapists and doctors for you to go to a doctor, to go to, if you know, if you're in pain, you go see someone.
Yeah.
But we, again, as a race, this is a cultural thing. I don't know where it started. This is a very cultural thing. I've looked over the years of my 35 years of organizing, being in the community, because I was one of them. We didn't believe in going to see anybody. We sweep stuff under the rug. Right? We don't tell your business to nobody. What goes on in my house, stay in there. You go to the church and talk to the pastor, and that Negro ain't got no education. And I go, listen, let me say this. You have to go see people, and we've made it easy. Free 99. Thank God for the Cook County commissioners, you know, the Cook County Health, who've made this service available. And people should dial that number when we give it. You should see someone, schedule to see one of our therapists. They are professionally trained people. Our people need help. And brothers and sisters, our children need help. And even when it comes down to the family dynamics of it, we need to listen. There's an uptick of murder, suicides that's taking place in our community. Things that it was not common among us. Black children murdering their whole families. So we need to. I'm begging you, at the sound of my voice, if you need help, seek it out.
Take advantage of it. The number for our Acclivus Behavioral Health is 708-887-8705. 708-887-8705. If you forget it or need to refer back to it, I put it on the chat for Facebook, and then it's also on our Acclivus website too. But 708-887-8705. As we're getting to the close of this, Kelly, well, let me go with the barbers because I know they're actually in the shop. Damien or Andre, did you guys have any closing comments you want to say about tomorrow, getting ready for tomorrow and all that?
Well, yeah, I just want to come on now. We're going to be there, coming down from 10 to 2 at on 35th, right across from police headquarters. We're going to have like hot dogs for hamburgers too. So and gifts and the book bags.
You feed the people too, brother. My man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So come on back while supplies last.
Okay. Thanks, Damien. You have any closing closing?
Yeah, we got hot dogs, burgers. We setting up the tables and everything. Be here. I'll be here at 8 o'clock in the morning, getting ready for everything. And I just want to say thanks for the opportunity. That's about it.
Cool. I'll see you in a little bit for pastries. I'm gonna stop by and say hi. But look, we might have some stuff left over from pastries that we can give that y'all can give out tomorrow too. So that'll be great. Kelly, did you have any? Thank you, Kelly. You have any closing comments before we wrap up?
Yes. So I just thank everyone for their perspectives that was shared. I do want to say to Mr. O and the two callers who did have concerns over the mental health labeling, there is some validity to our mistrust of labeling things. There has been historical evidence of medical racism that has happened, and so I welcome people who struggle with saying, okay, I'm going to label this as a mental health concern, or I'm going to openly admit that I need some support, or that, my children need support because of the history of racism that we have gone through. But I want those callers to know, as well as any other callers who are struggling to, get support because they're afraid of medical racism, is that we overcome mistrust through transparency and culturally sensitive care. And as we have been seeing, as the years progress, everyone is becoming a little bit more open and understanding to our concerns. And so don't hide in a closet that, you need support. Understand that there's support out here. There's free support through Acclivus, and we will get beyond, the mistrust and the labels, because as we know, Black people always overcome. So I would just say, continue to speak up, Mr. O, continue to advocate for mental health. Appreciate your urgency and everything that you stated on today, but understand that there is validity in it, and, allow people to have that validity and still encourage them to get the support that they need or that their family members need. Just to wrap up, again, the referral line again is 708-887-8705. Those resources that I was speaking about in terms of creating the intentional time to have the conversations. There's some conversation starters on kidsmentalhealthfoundation.org that is very helpful for parents who may not know how to talk about mental health or struggle, getting their children's attention. So I would say go to that website, find the conversation starters. That would be great. And then another website that is also important, I believe, within our community is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service website, and that's samhsa.gov. Again, samhsa.gov. Thank you guys for having me on.
Thank you, Kelly.
And
thank you.
You guys have a great day.
Thank you.
Real quick, just want to let everybody know again our activities that are coming up today in North Lawndale, 21st and Pulaski. We'll be from 2 to 5. We'll have our final Play Streets activation. Come out for some good music, some burgers and hot dogs and healthy treats, jump roping, petting zoo, bounce houses. So that's a real good fun event. Tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. our Acclivus back to school free barber and beauty services day. That's at about 7 different barbershops across the city. You can check out our website and our social media channels for the details on those shops. And then on next Saturday, August 29th, we're having a community fun day in Washington Park. That again will be free activities, DJ, game truck, a lot of fun there, and that's free, and that's from 2 to 5 p.m. So just again, stay connected with us, and we'll be sharing more information. But with that is
listen, and anything you heard you need to get more information about, please call 312-766-7145, 312-766-7145. Sometime Bianca answers the phone. So you have to take your call and direct you to the right location or respond to you as necessary.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all so much. That's all we have time for.
We passed our time.
We passed our time. Look, thanks, Rob. LaDonna went over her time, so I'm not going to apologize today. But good morning. Good afternoon, you all. You guys have a great Saturday. Thank you so much. If you want to talk about anything that your organization does as far as community violence intervention, you can reach us on our website and email us at communications@acclivusinc.org. Thank you all so much for joining.
On behalf of Devon Stone Sr., peace and great things. We're out of here.
Thanks, everybody.
Who really cares? Who really cares? Who's willing to try? Who is willing to try to save the world? To save